Yes, take it away, Denise.
No problem. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us very much. So welcome everyone on the call. We have a great group here today, and we're excited to share what we know about how we can all collaborate in today's times a little better. I want to do just a really quick introduction of my two colleagues and co-conspirators here. Jacob Orison from our team has been with AdamsGabbert almost 20 years and leads the tech services and advisory services lines of business. We'll hear from him a little later. And then Stacy Rose, who is our Chief Operating Officer and responsible for making sure all systems are go, whether they are taking care of clients or our associates in person or in today's world virtually. So, and Stacy, you will also hear from in just a little bit. I also want to just mention a few things before we jump right in. As Courtney was saying, what we do provide IT support for small and mid-sized businesses, as well as recruiting and staffing for our clients. We're considered an essential business, but we're trying to do our part, and we were an early adopter of work from home because we do have teams and the ability to do so. So we're happy to share some of that with all of you. I want to make just two really quick points before we jump right into our webinar presentation. First, we do have a fully loaded call and everyone is on internet. So if we have just a slightly delay here and there from home internet, understand that it's probably just the usage of internet that we're all experiencing and not Teams. And then secondly, we did see that a number of registrants are from some larger companies, and we are delighted to have you and happy to share everything that we know about that we can in a few minutes about Teams and the integration. But as I mentioned briefly, our support that we provide for Teams Office 365 tech support is specifically geared to small and mid-sized businesses. So happy to have you all on board. We'll definitely take questions through chat, as Courtney mentioned. At the end, we'll save those for the end, and then we'll stay on quite a while and answer as many questions as we can that come through that weren't answered through the course of the presentation. So if we can start with a few slides, and we'll talk through these. So in just getting started, as today's presentation, as you could see briefly, we are a Microsoft partner, and that's fine, Jacob, thanks. The things that we wanted to cover today are on the agenda is obviously the overview, which is the purpose of today. We are hoping that what we learn, we use Teams all the time, and you'll see that in the demo that we'll do so that you get to see some live interaction that we do. But we use it all the time, and it makes a huge difference in how we're able to do business. But we're going to start with what really is Teams? Why would you need Teams? We will do the brief demo of Teams, and then how do you get Teams? And then, like I mentioned earlier, through the chat that you submit, we'll have questions and answers. But to get started, I want to just jump right in to have everyone, if you could reply to this question in your chat with just the number for your answer. How much do you or your company know about Teams? 1, my company doesn't have Teams. 2, my company has Teams, but we are not utilizing. 3, my company has Teams and we are using it, but still lots of questions to answer. You could just answer 1, 2, 3, and we'll take a quick peek at where a lot of them are falling. Okay, so it looks like I don't remember seeing any or very few ones, so it looks like we've got some 2s. You have Teams but aren't utilizing, and 3s, a lot of those which are still have a lot of questions, even though you might be using some of it, which makes perfect sense. So we'll go forward with that. Thanks so much for jumping in there. Makes it slightly interactive, but it helps us understand where we're at. So collaboration is actually how work gets done. And if you would have asked all of us 3 weeks ago how important it was to be set up on something like Teams, we all probably would have said important, but not life-changing or deal-breaking for how we do business. But I think we would agree today's world, it has become life-changing or deal-breaking in how we do business. So regardless of whether we're working from home, virtually, etc., employees work on nearly 2 times the number of teams that we did 5 years ago. That's quite a few because we were working with quite a few different teams 5 years ago. And by teams, I mean groups of people that we all interact with and do business with. Just to highlight a few, and the internal and external team members, all of us work with all kinds of partners, vendors, we are vendors, outside associates, outside partners that we work with, not just our internal team members. At AdamsGabbert, we work with Crux as our marketing partner and have for several years. And we have a folder set up in one of our channels in Teams where they populate with their information, we populate with ours, and only they and us can see that. But it works out great, so we're not emailing back and forth across the emails and wondering which version and what information and did we get it to them. We just drop it in there like we always would, and they have access just to that file. That's a great example of how to use Teams and make huge improvements around your efficiencies with an external partner. Obviously, geographic distribution has skyrocketed in the last few weeks of how we need to connect across multiple locations. And then the multi-generational workforce. We have different expectations and preferences, and there are a number of tools that can be used from slightly to quite expanded in how we work with that. We're going to jump right in now to a little bit more definition of what really is Teams, and I'm going to turn it over to Stacy to get ready to do the demo after that. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Uh-oh. Do you guys hear an echo? So today we're going to just talk a little bit about Microsoft Teams. As Denise alluded to, we've been using it for a couple years in our space, and it's worked out really well, especially in this whole work from home state we're now finding ourselves in. But generally, Microsoft Teams is a chat-based workspace in Office 365. So if you have Office 365, you most likely also have Teams. It's a great place to chat. It's a hub for everything. It's customizable and it is secure. And I'm just going to zip through each one of those things. So it looks like most of you have Teams and are using Teams, so that's great. I'll be anxious to hear towards the end what your specific questions are about it. So some of this may be pretty basic, but I'm just going to zip through it anyway for those that don't know much about it. So the chat feature offers a threaded and persistent chat, so it's ongoing. It can be referenced to topics, and it's a great way to keep organized as you deal with individual chats with your teammates or group chats. They do have group chats and private one-on-one conversations. You're easily enabled. You could switch back and forth between teams very easily. You can show a lot of personalities with the emojis and GIFs and stickers. There's mobile voice and video online calling functionality, which is available to some subscribers of Teams and Office 365. There's also a really great email and calendar integration. And then the next area is it really just creates a hub for all of your teamwork. So you can access all of your documents, your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, really anything you need to access, you can. Integrated with SharePoint. It can integrate with Power BI and Planner. It really is a very slick user interface to work with your SharePoint. You can search across people, files, chats. It's a pretty robust search function. You can have ad hoc meetings, and that's the free version and also the paid version. And then the paid version enables you also to schedule meetings directly within Teams. And it is customizable for each team and each company. Every company out there uses different apps and has different necessities, and you can tailor your channels and make custom memes. You can integrate common cloud services with tabs within your teams, notifications. There are bots that are available within certain channels, and there are just lots and lots of partner integrations, and that list continues to grow. And now I think we're going to do a quick little demo. So I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. So I just wanted to do a quick rundown. So again, many of you have this, so this should not be unfamiliar to you, but just quick high-level definitions here. So your teams are really the equivalent of a sports team, if you want to use that analogy. We have lots of different teams, and you're actually looking at my internal AG teams format here. So we have our internal that most people need access to in our company. We have an HR team, we have an IT team, we have our executives folder, an AG leadership team, and then this one down here below is the demo and testing. And that we created just for today, and just so you guys can get a peek at that. You'll see along the side here we have chat functionality. We've got some GIFs and various silly things going on here, but also some serious stuff. And this is a great way, especially today and in the way things are, just to really keep in touch and bonded with your teammates out there. You can chat within teams or within your certain group you work with, or individuals. There's a calendar integration here that will integrate with your Office 365 and Outlook type calendars. You can create your meetings directly from here. You'll see up here in the right-hand corner, I have a Meet Now functionality that I'm going to go ahead and show you how easy this is to make a quick call within Teams while you are just sitting here. You can hit a join now and join with many people on your team. I'm going to zip down here though and show you a specific one. Here's the call functionality, and again, this is not it's available within Teams and within your company and people using Teams within your organization. There's a more robust version available that allows you to make outside calls, but you have to upgrade your subscription. But just wanted to show you how quick and fast it would be to make a quick call here. Hi, Ness. You're on with everybody. So anyway, just want to say goodbye now, just showing the functionality. Talk to you later. And so then you'll see how easy that is. Also down below here, you'll see that there are numerous apps that integrate there's different areas of expertise, human resources, productivity, project management type apps. So there really is just all kinds of functionality. One of the things I really wanted to just show you real quick, and I'm sure many of you have already experienced how wonderful it is to be able to work in live time documents. So I'm gonna see if I've got Jacob online. So you'll see right here, this little dot indicates that Jacob is in the document and I also am in the document, and we can be working together and seeing the document being edited in real time. So that feature is used a lot, and as a matter of fact, as we were creating the webinar for today, we were working live time and collaboratively in our PowerPoint. So it's a really incredible feature to have. And I believe that is it for my quick demo. But like I mentioned before, please feel free to post questions in the chat if you have any. We are going to do our best to answer all of them, if not today, at some point in the next 24 hours, and would love to connect with you. We can work with you on some training, on some implementation, really anything that you might need. So let me go back here.
Thanks, Stacy. Well, can you hear me now? Okay, great. Thanks, Stace. So going back into a little bit more discussion. So RealLife organizations here in Kansas City that have had success in working with teams and learning from scratch and learning new. And one of them that we're highlighting today is Legacy Brokers. And Rick Finfera, who's the CEO, you see his smiling face there. So his quote you can read there. He says, "Not only are we connected and more efficient, but we also won new business after meeting with a prospective client via Teams. We couldn't have done it without AG." Now, this is an opportunity for all of us in these times where we are working virtually and having to literally be showing up at our best for our clients and our prospects, that we need to be able to seamlessly work through things like this. He went on to elaborate in talking with me about actually having to be at the vet with his dog and needed to send an Excel spreadsheet to team members that they were on a call, and he was able to do that from his phone because Teams does have apps for your phones, both Android and Apple. Was able to do all of that seamlessly from being virtual and even not being in front of his computer. So just an example, local company finding ways to do business different and better. Some of you are probably saying, okay, now what, right? So there are several versions of Teams. Stacy mentioned there's free to monthly licensing fees per user, and there's a range of that, and there are different packages that have different capabilities and capacity, etc. But there are free versions and to get started. Any of you that are Office 365 already users and have that package, then you do have access to Teams. The question then becomes, obviously, how do you set it up for optimal results for both you and your, no pun intended, team? Another thing we often hear is, how do I cut through all the information and focus on which one is right for me? If you just Google Teams, there are countless reams of information of what it means, what's available, what people recommend, etc. And it's very challenging as you have a business to run, you have opportunities that you need to take care of, and it's very challenging to figure out what is the right way to get that set up. And then, honestly, where do I start? That's a question we also always get answered. How will people get, trained and educated? How do I get this integrated with the rest of what we use? A lot of organizations that have Office 365 use PowerPoint, use Outlook, email, etc. Some of the basics, but have not ever really jumped into Teams. And Teams is truly a game changer. It's almost no longer just a nice to have in today's world of virtual. It really has become a way to be effective. No longer are we wondering which version we're working in. Am I working in the same version that Stacy was working on in the PowerPoint yesterday, etc., or Jacob? No, we knew we were because we were in it together, and it's saving the right documents. So very helpful for things like that. At the end of the day, you might say, and I think we've got a different screen now. You might say, where do I start? What do we do? And we can help with that. One of the ways that we can help, the next page, you'll see some resources that we have put in here, and I know this PowerPoint will be available to all of you. And these are links, live links that will take you into some of the different information that we find valuable and we would like to share with you. So the first two bullets there are really documentation from Microsoft about just the versions, the functionality, a nice overview, and then also about security and compliance and details that many of you will be very curious to know about as it relates to Teams. The next two are about webinars and instructor-led training for Teams, and then also a video that does give a little bit more of a demo and intro into what you can expect with Teams. And then the last two are, in fact, links to download Teams for free if you don't have Office 365 already. If you do, there is the free PC version available there, and also the mobile apps that you can see. So you would, like I say, later today, after this is over, you'd be able to click on those and see some of the links directly. And the other way we can help is our contact information is right here. Stacy mentioned we are going to do our best. I see a lot of questions coming in already. We're going to do our best to answer those today during this meeting. Any of them that we don't get answered, or if they are more detailed or more specific, then we'll be happy to answer those in the next 24 hours. Our emails, our phone, etc. is there, our website, and other links. So we're happy to talk to you about any way that we could potentially work with some of you as it relates to Teams. I think now we're going to move into, for the last portion here, some questions and answers. Then we're going to speak directly from the chat. So any of the questions you've already submitted, we'll try to address, and then as you continue to submit them, we'll stay on and address these as long as we can. Thank you all very much. I know it's challenging to be sitting on mute and listening to us talk and present. We usually like it a little more interactive, but it's a pretty big group today, so thank you for that. We'll start with some of the chat questions.
Hi guys, Jacob. Saw a few of the different questions come through. One of them had to deal with the live document that we showed. Though the functionality is available within the free version of Teams, there's just a matter of how much information can actually be shared within the free version. There are some they limit it to 10 gigabytes of data is what's available for storage and presentation. And once the document is actually stored within, sorry, I'm trying to open up another window to show real quick. Once the document is actually stored within Teams, so should be seeing my screen currently, the file that Stacy opened up that we were both working in was actually just this Teams document. And once you've actually uploaded it into Teams, you can open that document within Teams, and it is considered a live document and can be edited by multiple individuals that have access to that file structure within that team. So it is basically live once it's been uploaded into the Teams repository. The file storage out here is done through SharePoint, and that's where they actually do the version control and management. It's done within SharePoint. There are settings on the administrative side for how many revisions your organization wants to retain within the SharePoint structure for those documents. That's kind of one of the configuration aspects that as we work with organizations to set up, we would talk with them to identify how many revisions they would like to store within the system. Depending on your licensing level, Microsoft gives you up to a terabyte or per site for some storage. On the E3 licenses, there's some unlimited storages as well. You are able to actually share forms and such through documents and forms within the Teams application as well. As far as online signatures goes, there is some integration with Adobe where you can actually use the Adobe application to capture your signatures like you would on a standard Adobe document. And but like DocuSign and those, I haven't used that with one of my previous clients, but I'll look into that to see if there's some additional information available in regards to like DocuSign. The ability to actually delete chat conversations is capable. There's administrative settings that are controlled at a channel and team level that either enable the deletion of chats by individuals that have done it or don't enable those functionalities. So there is the possibility to actually delete some chats, but it is controlled by the administrator of teams within it. So I'm not sure if you were looking for a complete chat or just a entry that was made by an individual, but some of that is managed by the actual administrative settings for the team itself. Within Teams, it is the reference link we provided for the security and compliance gives some more information, but the encryption in transit and at rest and the compliance factors, it is HIPAA compliant. There are some additional configurations on the admin side where you can do additional group policies and the admin policies to ensure that some of the communication and such with the HIPAA compliance, how the external communication and the rights that are assigned to external users also impacts your ability to remain HIPAA compliant. So you have to manage those through the admin side as well. Let's see. Looks like it's the difference between upload and download. In what you're seeing currently in the file structure, the upload feature just lets you pick a file or a folder from your local PC to actually upload and share into the file repository there. If I selected a couple of documents, the download feature lets you actually download that document locally so that if you're disconnected from Teams, you can actually have some of those documents stored locally on your system if it has been enabled so that you can actually access those documents while you're offline as well. Chats are retained, and as you go through your chat history, basically you have the ability to just scroll back up through your history. If you don't want to see anymore, you can hide some of those chats so that they go by the wayside. If you have a lot of chats like you were seeing on Stacy's screen when she was showing her screens, there were a lot of history. You can search up here to see who you've talked to and what information is available for them pretty easily. The export functionality for chats, if you need to do that, there is a way to do it, but there's some configuration that's involved with that aspect to it as well. As there was a question, I believe, also about hosting the meeting in Teams versus WebEx. For this particular webinar, the Chamber's vehicle for use was WebEx. There are some different limitations with the different tools out there. With Teams, you can have over 1,000 people in a webinar. Part of the issue with that is the number of actual video screens that can be displayed or tiled at a certain point in time. You can have the presenter and there can be multiple attendees, but the ability to actually see the video for individuals within Teams is a little bit limited in regards to Zoom or to WebEx. Zoom and WebEx both have more tile capabilities to where you can actually see the interactive video screen for individuals attending the meeting versus just presenting the data and information out there. So let's see. So one of the questions in regards to strategy to activate this, part of when we typically engage with a new organization to help them utilize Teams, part of the conversation initially stems with some of the executive leaderships just to identify what they're trying to get out of the organization for using Teams and how they would like their teams to use it. The strategy of creating the teams based off of the different groups and the structure in there is part of the critical aspect to configuring Teams so that the usability is there, so that the right people are engaged in the right areas and teams within the application so they can communicate and share. And then the aspect of some of the additional features such as external users and sharing documents internally and externally through Teams. those admin configurations need to be configured such that it supports the organization. So typically there's conversations that occur in regards to what your current business processes are and how this could be used to support those. And then there'd be a training session with each of the, where the employees could attend to and walk through the process and implement teams within the organization. And similar to Zoom, you can use Teams externally. It is a configuration within the tenant where your Teams is hosted, and there are permissions that can be set for what external guests can do within your Teams application and channels that you invite them to. Part of that is typically what we would review with the organization to identify how much access and what privileges they want those individuals that are external to have. We use it with some of our clients, such as Legacy, where we can chat with those external resources to AdamsGabbert directly through Teams and actually video and share some documents and stuff, as Denise mentioned as well with Crux. So it is possible. Part of it with larger organizations, there is a configuration called Federation, where you can set up security between one Microsoft Office 365 tenant and another tenant to provide additional security, such that if there is proprietary information or other details that are being shared between two organizations, Microsoft does allow for additional security measures to be put in place versus just adding in a external email address as a contact and sharing information with them as well. I'm not seeing any additional questions. If there are some that I haven't touched on, please let me know. But from what I was able to see through the chat, it looked like most of those were currently out there. The one thing I think that Stacy mentioned, and you should be able to still see on my screen, is there is the ability to do a private channel. When we had talked with some organizations previously that we had worked with, this was a feature that, excuse me, Microsoft kind of updated within the last 6 months. And what this does is it actually provides you the ability to set up a channel within a team that is limited to a smaller subset of users within a team, and all the information and file storage is actually totally separated from the larger team to a smaller group. So if there was a specific project or individual work effort that needed to be done that was isolated from the rest of that team, it is possible to do that within Teams as well. Typically, one of the easiest ways to start using Teams is to, if you have Office 365, when you log in, you can see your applications across when you first log into Office 365, and you can just click on Teams and actually open it up. We're in the web version here that I'm displaying currently. And basically, you can just start chatting with individuals within your organization to start getting a feel for how the actual application works. If you are not currently a Office 365 subscriber, through the resources link, you can Google Microsoft Teams as well. But Microsoft does provide the ability to actually open up a free account and start using it yourselves to start exploring some of the functionality. For some of the external sharing and additional private channels and administration aspect, engaging with the Microsoft partner to identify how that would work with your organization is typically a good way to start getting additional details and understanding of the application and how it works with the other Microsoft Office applications or software as well. Are there any additional questions or insights that we could talk about or provide?
Okay, I think that's great. Denise, are you still out there?
Might be muted, Denise.
Okay.
There. You guys want to go ahead and wrap up?
Was gonna, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. So thank you all. We ran over a little bit, but thanks for your questions. If there's any additional questions, you know how to reach us, and we will be happy to answer those. As Jacob said, there is a lot to this that you can do on your own to get started and just to tip your toe in the water, and then we're happy to try to help you beyond that if there is anything. The more you get into it, the more you'll find that you will also use it just as part of your daily life in doing business. So we wish you all the best, and we'll turn it back over to the chamber.
Thanks, Denise. Thanks, everyone. Jacob and Stacy, this has been really helpful. I hope all of you were able to get some good information out of this. We will be putting this webinar as well as other ones. Sorry. Work at home. We will be putting this webinar as well as other ones on our YouTube page. Okay, I'm going to go. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, all. Thank you.